Hello and welcome YouTube and Grimmelon community. Today it is finally time to present you my Dervish. This is not gonna be the 69th iteration of a Venomblade set or his R set plus Misery Dervish, which have already been maxed to perfection by some of the best builders on the forum, like DMT for softcore, or on Twitch by Rainan22 at Alumni for hardcore. Instead, as you know me and my estate for meta builds, this is gonna be a fire, player scaled pet Dervish. I will leave links to the meta answer Dervishes and also to another even more meme spec, a cold virus might Dervish, which I unfortunately didn't quite make it through the new SR66 on this patch, in my hands at least, in the description of this video, so make sure to check those out as well.
Dervish should be like easy though. Unless you like get fucking hit by that and then you die and then oh my fucking god, dude.
Oh my god, the day of rips, dude. All the meme builds die.
Today, however, I want to talk about the Fire Pet Dervish. So this build is able to, of course, clear all of main campaign and dungeons as well as Lokar and Bourbon clones without any issue, as well as able to clear SR 65 to 66 and Crucible Gladiator 150 to 170. However, SR 65 plus and Crucible on hardcore with this character are not really for the faint-hearted. It can get a little bit shaky here and there, so proper piloting is required. Since this is a pet build, but you scale the pets with player bonuses, this build has a very unique playstyle. It's probably like the closest you can get to a hybrid build, like a hybrid pet, non-pet build in this game. The main damage of this build comes from maxed out Guardians of Empyrean at 26 out of 16 and their Celestial Presence at 22 out of 12. You have 4 of them in total due to 24 plus points, giving you +1 summon limit, and the Magi Visage giving you another +1 summon limit. And then you give them some more company with 3 Fire Blade Spirits at 25 out of 16 with a Coin of Night Whispers, providing you the necessary conversion. For devotions, you want to pick up your usual fire devotions, so Solar's Witchfire, Magi, and Uzin's Torch. For flat RR, I picked Elemental Storm, and for sustain, which can be a little bit tricky on this build, I used Bat and Guardians with Vitality to fire conversion on Blade Spirit Rings, as well as Giant's Blood and Chariot for more health gen and some burst heal on top of the heal from Problematic Burst. This pretty much covers the basic idea of this build, but there's more to talk about here, so let's head into the game to check out all the little things about this build in detail. Alright, so here we are in the game. Let's summon up all the Guardians and Blade Spirits as well. There we go, right, we got all of them here stacked together. We can like move them around with pet attack, just like you could do with any other pet as well. There we go. Okay, so skills allocation for this Dervish, right? You wanna put 5 points to Dual Blades for 5% Fizzerness, up to 5 points. This is very good value. You wanna put 1 point into Ring of Steel and 1 point into Circle of Slaughter because of the fumble. I mean, you could skip this, but I think 20% fumble is still pretty nice, because sometimes you have to tank a lot. Since these are player scaled pets, they are actually not able to tank for you. They are basically invulnerable pets, right? And yeah, they can't tank for you. So you need to tank yourself, and because of that, you need to also be able to, well, ideally dodge attacks, so fumble is pretty good here. Dramatic Burst, 12 out of 12 in the base, 12 out of 12 into Shadow Dance for dodge and DA, and 7 out of 12. I think this is just a 1-pointer into Elemental Awakening for like some elemental damage and elemental resistances. 1 point into Breath of Bergothian for the recharge and higher health regeneration. Pretty good here in this spot as well, because you need actually does quite a lot to sustain yourself. Veil of Shadow at soft cap here, yeah, pretty good. We don't have any like Pierce or Coda poison damage, so Night's Chill is pretty much useless. 1 point Phantasmal Armor, 3 out of 12 here. If you can somehow like manage to free up some more points, so like put more points here, feel free to put more points here. This is a pretty nice passive, but yeah, in my case I didn't really have those points available to me, so only 1 point here. Next up we have Anatomy of Murder at 11 out of 12. 11 out of 12 because 11 out of 12 has like the nice 24% cunning bonuses. After that it gets kind of worse. This doesn't scale fire damage at all, but still like 40% multiplicative damage to humans and 24% cunning is pretty nice to have on pretty much any Nightblade, to be honest. I actually put 8 out of 12 points into Blade Barrier. This is pretty much similar to what you could do in Arcanist with like 7 out of 12 points into Mirror, right? Up to 8 out of 12 points, this gives you like 2 seconds recharge per point. After that's only 1 second. This is very nice because, well, you need to like sometimes tank, and the build is not really that tanky, like sustain is not really that good, and you need to use this sometimes actually. But it's also fine to use this because, I mean, your pets are most of your damage, so you don't need to actually attack yourself. So just like stand there, tank with Blade Barrier is pretty good. I think this is probably the build where Blade Barrier made the most sense to me so far in the entire game, so it's perfect here. If we move over to the second main ability, Blade Spirit, well, full bleed and fire Blade Spirit. I mean, the bleed part you don't scale, but like the fire part you care about, right? The Conduit of Night's Whispers here provides the pierce and cold to fire conversion, also adds additional fire damage to Blade Spirits, so they do actually deal quite some damage, even though they don't really have any other support apart from this like Conduit here. And also like some plus skills, such as for example from the Reaper Parents, right? You want to at least get this 24 points, because at 24 points you get 3 of them. Moving over to the, well, actual main mastery of the spell is the Oathkeeper, right? We have 1 pointers into Virus Smite, Volcanic Stride, and Tectonic Shift, just to like move around. This is basically only used for mobility, nothing else. You don't even proc anything with this, so like you don't have to use this aggressively at all. Presence of Virtue, 13 points here, pretty nice, like OA buff. 6 points Haven, I think this is like just a 1 or 2 pointer. Up to 5 points, it's in my opinion like necessary to put this for the percent health. Each point after 5 out of 10 is also like still pretty decent, but not as amazing as up to 5 points. So yeah, at least 5 points here. 1 point Rebuke. Nothing really like amazing about this for this build. 5 points Resilience. Yeah, this is still pretty much like the sweet spot to go for on Resilience on pretty much any build. Ascension, 13 points. You just want to like have as much absorption as possible here, and 1 point into Clarity of Purpose, because 1 point honestly like gives you already like so much. You don't really need more than that, and it doesn't really have 100% uptime anyway, so yeah, no need to like invest more than 1 point here. Then we have Judgment, 1 point here, 12 points here for the DA Shred, and 1 point here. This is basically just a debuff ability here, and also to proc, well, the Eldritch Fire Devotion. And then we finally move over to the main ability, Guardians of Empyrean, right? This is the main damage of this build. We have 4 of them. We have 26 points here, so at 24 and higher we get 3 instead of 2. And then also we are using the Magi Visage, right? This one gives another +1 summon limit. You might also already see that I have the Redeemer's prefix here, which gives me another +3 to Guardians of Empyrean. You don't actually need that. You can still get to 26 points even if you don't have this prefix. You just will have to like put, for example, 3 points from Crushing Verdict over into Guardians to get like to keep that 26 points here. I mean, I'm using greens, yes, but these aren't like exactly necessary like as they are, right? You are still totally fine like not having these exact affixes. These are not required in this exact way, right? The Guardians also have 22 points at the Celestial Presence for like 35% fire resistance shred, and 13 points in the Divine Mandate, well, for crit damage and percent fire damage, and also slow rest. Pretty self-explanatory here. Also, yeah, the Guardians, on top of them being 4, they are also, well, supported by the Ascendant Authorities. Each of them give you like 30% total speed to summon Guardians of Empyrean. This is also like kind of the main reason why I went for these and not the two-hander, which like gives you 5 Guardians, but like 60% total speed is basically like 60% more damage, right? So that should be better than the hammer, like better than another Guardian, which is kind of like what, 25% more damage, right? This is 60% more damage. Moving over to devotions, you have the, well, fire devotions, right? Witchblade, Magi, and Torch. You have the elemental shred devotion, like flat shred devotion around Crown. You have chariot and throne for the stun rest nodes, as well as, well, some OA and like a small heal. But honestly, like this is not really that like helpful. Like it can help sometimes, but it's very like inconsistent in my opinion. We have Viper for like additional percent reduced elemental shred in between. However, we can only apply this while weapon damage, so like Dark Desires, Shadow Strike like ability, for example, will apply this to full effect. Something like Stormfire will not. Panther, well, just we need like some blue and yellow, right? Yeah, I think I just went for this for like additional OA on like a filler devotion. Behemoth for sustain, right? Health regen, healing, active healing, and health regen on the proc. Then we have Bat, bound to Guardians. I bound this to Guardians so that I have pretty much the most consistent way of proccing this, while not having to attack myself. So like this will still heal me when I have to, for example, kite enemies around, right? Because the build can't face tank all the time, even with Blade Barrier and Ascension, and you can't like tank all the time. So you have to like sometimes like run around in circles around enemies and like let your pets do the thing. So yeah, to like still sustain while doing that, you can bind your Twin Fangs to Guardians. Raven is like just a filler devotion for offensive ability. Yeah, that's pretty much it for devotions as well. Let's talk about gear. Well, self-explanatory was the Magi's Visage, right? Ascendant's Authorities and the Conduit, right? This is like the core of the build basically, right? This one, 2 Authorities, and then Night's Whispers Conduit. Core of the build, right? Then also Dawnshard Grip are kind of a no-brainer here because they have more damage to Guardians. You want to scale your Guardians, so yeah, pretty good for a Guardian build. I went for Logorian's Shoulders because I was lacking like OA and DA on this build, and Logorian's Shoulders, as you can see, OA and DA is like barely good with like Ascension and Primitive Burst up. Without, it's kind of not that amazing. And these helped me quite a bit to like get more OA and DA. Just probably like the single best standalone chest in the game for casters is Fate Reaper's Raiment, and it actually also has +2 to Blade Spirit, so it's like a perfect fit here. Right? You need actually Reaper's leg guards for +3 to Blade Spirits. I went for just some that have like some, well, HP as well as offensive ability. You can use something else though, like affixes are very flexible on this build for sure. Serenity +1 all skills and a Circuit Breaker, always a safe choice, right? If you feel like you could use something else, feel free to use something else, but I would always use this on hardcore, especially on a build like this, which doesn't have like the most consistent sustain and could go down without this in some situations. I'm actually also using the full 3-piece Blazier set for, well, bonuses to Guardians of Empyrean, right? And also Chaos to Fire and Vitality to Fire conversion. The Chaos to Fire doesn't really matter at all actually. But yeah, it has like very nice bonuses to Guardians, right? And also has like another like Rain of Fire proc. Like this one here, right? These like meteors that are falling down here. It's like from the Blazier set as well. Pretty cool. If you have actually the Redeemer's prefix on Maja's Visage, and I get like +6 Guardians here, right, like I did, I could actually move out, like remove the belt here, and use like the Pierce to Fire conversion belt instead, to have like better sustain via bat. So if you have, like if you manage to still get to like 24 or higher points to Guardians of Empyrean, right, you could certainly get the Pierce to Fire conversion belt here instead, to have even better sustain via bat. Second ring, Signet of the Runefather for another like +2 to Blade Spirits, and also like pretty nice, actually defensive health and resistances, right? And also has 131% fire damage basically, so this is actually not bad at all, right? This is a very good blue ring for this build. Now last but not least, we have Earth Shattered Threads. You might have noticed that this build has no source at all for % damage reduction. And for that, if you don't have it anywhere else, you can always use these boots, right? They actually have fire damage, so they fit. They have DA, pretty good. Physical resistance, pretty good. And they have the Ground Smash ability, which does reduce enemy damage by 15%. It's not as amazing as, say, Warcraft, like 20% or 25%, or some Devotions with like 24%, or 16% like Ugol. But it's 15%, right? It's still something. And yeah, that's a pretty nice like ability to use in between. Like you basically don't need to, well, focus on damage that much to yourself. Anyway, you just like to like support your pets a bit with like debuffs, right? Like this one, proc Devotions with the other abilities, right? Proc your Rain of Fire, proc the Metastorm with Stonefire, and then you can also like debuff the enemies with the Ground Smash, so that you take less damage and yeah, you survive better, right? So that's basically how you play this build. Let's check out the build in action, right? So you can see that the dummy kill time is actually pretty quick, right? It's like 20... Actually no, that's like 19 seconds, right? Like that's pretty quick for a build like this. Like the single target DPS is very good. AoE DPS can be not that amazing because sometimes like the pets will only like focus one target, right? And they will take the target down pretty quickly, which is good. But yeah, AoE can be quite lacking compared to some other builds in my opinion. But yeah, it's still overall pretty fine, I would say. On the other hand, for AoE, you have like all the procs from Devotions and also your Blazier, etc. Like all the meteors falling from the skies here are basically making up for like the lack of AoE on Guardians. At least most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't really work that well, but yeah, from my experience it is like good enough. Don't forget that if you are in a group of enemies, you can always like press pet attack to the enemy that you want your pets to kill the quickest and the fastest, right? So you can direct your damage quite a bit here. Alright, let me just show you a quick local kill here, so that we can like showcase the skill rotation here. I mean, you just want to engage with Dark Desires, right? Then you want to like apply your debuffs, put some Stormfires on tank as long as you can with Ascension or Blade Barrier, and if those are down, then you just kind of like kite around a bit and let your Guardians do the thing, right? Let's see here, he has a hammer as well, Monka ass. Also, you can also like keep an eye out for your resilience as well as procs like Giants button for something, right? So like ideally you don't wanna let Blade Barrier one those are up. I messed it up, but it's not that easy. But yeah, there you go. I mean, it's, I would say, not the easiest build ever to play, because you can't just like face tank and like stop thinking, right? You have to actually think about your like rotations between Blade Barrier, Ascension, and also actually Resilience as well as Giant's Blood. But it's very fun to play, in my opinion. Very like dervishy, right? You like dance around your enemies while the Guardians do their thing, and that's very fun to play for me. It's basically like you could imagine a like hybrid build in this game. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for watching this awesome dervish, and I hope you're gonna have fun dervishing around, doing dervish things with this build or the other builds down in the description of this video as well. And I'll see you around on the next video, hopefully. Also, thank you so much everybody for supporting me on Patreon and Twitch. As always, thank you so much for giving me the time to make these kind of videos for you guys. Take care and see you around. Oh yeah, and make sure to check out the full Crucible 150 to 170 runs, as well as the SR 65 to 66 runs. There are links to the full VODs of those down below in the description as well.